going to dig a little deeper into our CSS pieces and talk about divs within our documents. So we already have one in the kind of default within our website that we get from example.com, and if we look at that, that's this box. It's this white box, and it's just a division within our web page. So if we go back in here, we're going to take some of this stuff out. So let's actually get rid of all of the header. Let's just have a div. We'll put those in there. Let's tab it over a little bit, and I'm going to make another one. I'm going to make another div, another division, and then close it. And there we go. Okay. And then I'm going to go into our style sheet, and I'm going to get rid of this link stuff because we don't have a link. And I'm going to, let's just leave this alone for a second and see what happens. So we have a paragraph tag. I'm going to, let's take this stuff out because we got rid of it from the paragraphs, and then we'll leave the paragraph. Let's make this 200%. And we'll leave everything else alone, and we'll see what we get as we work through it. So let's save that. Let's go back, save that, and then we refresh our browser, and we can see now I have two of these divisions. I have two of these boxes, and if I put a third one in, right, we'd get a third division. And so we can start to play around with what is in there. So let's again go back into our document and go to our style sheet, and we're going to let's do this. Let's make the background color, let's make it blue. Okay, and let's get rid of this margin piece for a second. Let's get rid of the padding, and let's specify a height, and let's make the height 300 pixels, semicolon, and let's get rid of the border radius. Alright, and let's save that. And let's go back and run that in the browser and refresh it. And there we go. Alright, I get my two boxes, my two divisions that look like one. And let's see if we can put something in there to see what happens. So go back and let's see if we can make that actually look like what it looks like. Between these two divisions, let's put a paragraph in. This is in the middle. Alright, save it, run it, there you go. So those are your two divs without the formatting that we had in the other ones, without the padding and everything else. So let's play around and see kind of how those pieces work. So let's go back into Notepad++ and let's add some classes to these. So let's make the background color of this, let's just make it white, easier to see. And we're going to make a class called redbox, and then we're going to copy this, and we're going to make a class called bluebox, and that's blue. This should be red, and 300 was a little big, so let's just make it 100, not 1000, and then 100. Save it. And then to specify a class for these divisions, let's say this class equals redbox, and this class equals bluebox. Save it, refresh it. There we go. It's looking better. So now we have our divisions there, we have the boxes, and we can put stuff in them if we want. Okay, so now let's try to think about how this would actually be used within a website. So right now they're just like boxes, right? Let's add some more pieces to this. So in my redbox style sheet, I want to see what I can do here with those pieces. So I have a width and height. Let's say a margin. So if I want to do a margin, let's do a left margin, colon, and let's do 100 pixels. See what happens with that. So if I refresh that, it moves it over a little bit, right? And I can adjust it left, right, up, down, doesn't matter. If I set this to be to the right, save it, refresh it. It doesn't look like it did anything, but I really have added 100 pixels on this right side as I go forward. Well, let's go back and see if we could make it be centered. So if I do position right is auto, and I do margin left auto. Let's see what happens here. Alright, it's in the middle. So it's basically going to keep that value within those two. So if I was to resize this, right, so let's see what happens. You can see it's dynamically positioning that thing in the middle. So that's pretty cool, that it will stay centered. Unless I get smaller, then obviously it goes up. But that makes it a little bit more movable. And so I can also deal with the position. So I'm going to do a couple of things here. I'm going to go back in and I'm going to copy these pieces. So copy it. I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back into styles and I want to make the blue boxes like 300. Okay, I'm going to save that and I'm going to go back into the browser and refresh it. So now I have something that's scrollable, and you can see I can scroll down, but I've lost, right, this red bar at the top. It goes away when I scroll. So if we go back into the red box, we want to talk about its position. So I say position, and let's try fixed. Let's see if that will keep it there. If I save that and refresh it, right, it fixes it, right, and now it doesn't move. Okay, so it's something that's constant at the top of my piece. I have some weird border thing at the top here that we'll have to figure out. But now I have something that doesn't start to move. Let's see if we can make it a little bit more interesting. So if I go back in here and let's say that the red box width, instead of pixels, let's try a percentage, 100%. Okay, let's see what happens as we kind of change that. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back in. Again, I'm just working on the style sheet at this point. Refresh it. Now I have something that goes all the way across my screen. That's starting to look more interesting. Alright, I'm going to try to get rid of this piece at the top. Let's see if we can figure that out. Okay, so we have this space at the top. Let's see if we can get rid of that. I'm just going to try something. Let's say top is 0 pixels. And save that and refresh it. There we go. Now it's moved up. Okay, and we have our values here, right? We have these divisions within here, and we could start to think about how this might actually work. Let's see if we had the actual elements within this. Let's say we wanted this to be centered. So I want the blue stuff in the middle. There's kind of two ways I can go about that. If I go into my text and I can look at my index.html. Okay, so let's try to see if we can make this look like more of a website. So we'd like to move these to the middle. Let's get rid of this part here, this middle piece in there. So let's go back to Notepad++. Since these are already in a class called BlueBox, we can take these values, right? So we're making the width 100% here. We don't really need this here. So if we cut that out and we put it in here, these should hopefully look centered. And then let's go back. Let's save that. Let's go back in here, and what I'm going to do is we're going to take our paragraph and we're going to put it inside the blue box. Alright, and we'll see what happens here. Alright, and then put it in there. Let's see, I got an extra div in here somehow. Okay, so we'll put those in there. This is in the middle. Those are our blue boxes. Now they're all going to get slammed together again, and we'll talk about how we can deal with that two ways. We can put breaks in, but let's just see what happens here. So if I refresh it, now they're in the middle, right? I can't see any text. However, if we go back and look at our code, our CSS, right, the color was blue. Let's make the color white. And save that and refresh it. There you go. That's now in the middle. So now I have these divisions with text inside of it. I have something at the top. We could do something up here as well. So let's say that we had in our red box, right, we wanted to put something there. And so we could add a paragraph and say this is where the links go. And I could put links to different pages at the top there. Okay, and let's save that. Go back and refresh it. There they go. That's where my links would go. And now let's try to make the blue box stuff look a little bit nicer. So if we remember that thing that we took off, right, which was our border radius, I believe. Okay, so let's see if we can make these look a little bit cleaner instead of just boxes. The width for my screen isn't great, but if I made it smaller, it would still look pretty good. So I'm going to let it be for a minute. I'm going to go back into Notepad++. I'm going to go to my style sheet, and these are the blue boxes. Let's specify a border radius colon, and we had it as 1 EM. So we have different options for our sizing. This is a holdover of basically it will be specific to the environment that you're in. If you're in a browser, 1 EM is usually 16 pixels. You can specify pixels directly. You can specify a percentage change like we did up here. So this is 200% bigger than what it was. And then basically this will be whatever the default setting is for size. And that will be different and more powerful on stuff like mobile devices. But usually this is around 16 pixels. So let's save that. And let's refresh it. Alright, now we're starting to get those pieces nicely curved. We could add more to it if we wanted, but that's looking pretty good. Alright, last thing we're going to do to deal with this is to get our kind of text in the right position, and then we'll get the colors maybe to look a little bit better. And then we're starting to get close to have something that looks kind of like a website.